Weather in Phoenix this morning is freaking delightful, man. Nice and cool. It's like 75. 75. I'm gonna turn around here. I'm gonna try to. That wasn't so bad. Yeah, J-Mar still sucks at U-turns. Whatever. Get over it. I'm over it. Yeah, so today we're gonna go. Now the sort of bit of good riding begins. Up to this point, it's just basically been a fucking chore. With the exception of like the Blue Ridge Parkway, but yeah, this is what I want. That's what I want. So we're gonna go up north. We're gonna go into Utah, and we're gonna stay. We're planning to by end of day. We're planning to get into Zion and stay sort of near or around or about Zion National Park. So I'm going to be headed north, I think on Interstate 17 if I remember correctly. I'll skip over through Sedona because Sedona's fucking really beautiful, really fucking snooty, but really beautiful. And there's that Canyon Road, which I rode down last year. I rode down it, the Twisty Canyon Road, and I wanted a chance to ride back up it, but when I left, I went west to Las Vegas instead of north, so I didn't. But this time we're gonna go up it, and I much prefer going up a twisty road than down one for a number of reasons. Well, and I think actually like real good motorcyclists don't really get too bothered about going downhill a twisty road, but I think that I don't like it because it's a little bit more difficult to control your speed if you're trying to ride conservatively, and if you need to slow down because of a hazard, it's a lot easier to do that if you're headed uphill. And also it's when you're going downhill, you're putting a lot of bias, or I should say weight, onto the front tire, onto the front wheel, and it just doesn't although I'm fairly confident that the amount of load I put on the front tire, I feel pretty confident that it can handle more, quite a bit more, but it feels better if when you're taking a corner, you're able to sort of gently roll on the throttle and shift the weight backwards. Oh shit. Can't get over here and we're all slowing down. Yeah, so it feels more comfortable to be able to sort of poise the bike so that it's you're planting a lot of the force onto the rear wheel, and it just I think for one, it feels better, and I think the reason it feels better is because it is providing better stability through the corner. But yeah, so that'll basically take me all damn day. It'll take me a couple hours to get up to Utah. We'll be going sort of past the Grand Canyon. I think we'll cross the Colorado. I don't know if there's, I should have checked, I don't know if there's much good visibility there, where we're gonna, much good visibility of the Grand Canyon, but we'll see what we can see. And and hopefully I'll get in. I think there's a couple where I'm gonna try to stay. I think there's it's a pretty scenic area, and I might be able to do a little bit of hiking from depending on where I actually wind up. I haven't booked my room yet, which is pretty fucking risky. At this point, I probably should have by now, and I will very soon. I think basically the first time, my first stop, I think I'll book the room, because where I'm going to be staying is not there's not a lot of accommodation. So like, whereas if you're in a big city, you know, not all the rooms are ever going to get booked up, so you'll be fine. You can book late and you'll be fine. But when you get into some of the more remote areas, not saying that where I'm going is strictly remote, but you get to some of the more remote areas, and you know, if those hotels fill up, you're fucked. So I'm just going to try and not get fucked. But yeah, been past couple days, well, really past day, just been chilling in Phoenix. And when I say chilling in Phoenix, I mean like it's pretty hot. It's not unmanageably hot, but it's, you know, it's warm. What's interesting is how warm it is compared to the surrounding areas. Like, so we're gonna be going through Flagstaff, and it's gonna be like 30 degrees cooler in Flagstaff, and it's I mean, I would say it's mostly due to the elevation. Flagstaff is, I mean, Phoenix is probably, I don't know, 2,000 feet elevation, and Flagstaff is probably like 7,000 feet elevation. So, but I mean, it's kind of what's interesting is how, and I reckon there's more to it than that. Well, what's interesting is how, you know, how quickly you get into basically a different climate. It's pretty wild. And I'm guessing part of what makes Phoenix and like Tucson so damn fucking hot. Now that is, I do dig it. I do dig that sort of skyline, ridge view, whatever. You know what I mean. But I think part of why it's so hot in Phoenix and the surrounding area, well, in parts of Nevada, and actually largely parts of the West in general, is, I think, in part because of the aridness and the relatively clean air, and I mean, here's what I mean by that. I think that the air has such little moisture in it. There's very little, there isn't so much of the solar radiation that's absorbed by the air, because air with particles of dirt and dust and pollen and in large extent water vapor, right, that's going to cause more electromagnetic radiation from the sun to be absorbed by the air. And when you have less of that, more of that radiation makes it straight to the ground. And I think that's why areas like Phoenix are so hot. Is because all that radiation from the sun or I should say a lot more of that radiation from the sun is coming right down to the ground, whereas in other areas like in the east that are humid, that radiation gets absorbed by the atmosphere. I may have just made all of that up. So sorry about that, boys and girls, if I've misled you. Well, it would help if you use your fucking indicator. Then I could fucking see and I could know what the fuck you're doing, but you didn't, you piece of shit. I think that's deserving of a middle fucking finger. What the fuck are you doing, dickhead? Use your fucking indicator, fucker. Asshole. You know, and that's like these fucking pieces of shit. These fucking motherfucking scumbags like that bag of shit. They're so like, well, I don't need to, like, so I was moving over, and at a glance, I couldn't tell if that stupid retarded faggot piece of shit was gonna move into my lane. And I mean, I'm keeping an eye on his vehicle and the relation of the wheels with the white line. But like at a glance, it's kind of hard to tell. It's definitely hard to tell what the fuck he's thinking. The stupid piece of shit. So it's just I have to rely on where the fuck his car is actually actively going right at any moment. Whereas if that stupid piece of shit would have used his fucking indicator, I would have, when I was changing lanes, by the way, fucking using my indicator, I would have seen, oh, he's intending to move into the same lane that I'm moving into. Maybe I'll back off for a second or take some other measure of mitigation to avoid encroaching on one another's space. But no, we don't do that. Nope, all that shit was just all for fucking naught. I should just, all I should really be doing is just barreling down the highway with my fucking fingers crossed. What the fuck? Fucking piece of shit, fucking faggot, that motherfucker. That makes me so mad. It's just so infuriating. Yeah, so yeah, drivers in Phoenix, of course, you know, just as bad as fucking just anywhere else, arguably worse. Phoenix is not a good place to ride a motorcycle. If you didn't already notice that. I do like that Corvette. I do like the C7 Corvette. The most recent of the front engine Corvettes, and I like the C8 too. I like the Corvette. It's a good looking car. They're really, I mean, for the performance that you get, it's such a good value in my opinion. And one interesting, so as far as sort of interesting facets of the automotive industry goes, one interesting car is the Tesla. So, and I think that the one in front of us is a Model 3, I believe. But Tesla keeps chugging along. I mean, Tesla is bigger than ever. At this point in May 2021, Tesla is bigger than ever, and more people are buying them more than ever. And like, as soon as I got off the interstate headed into Austin, I started seeing Teslas, whereas you're not really seeing them, so many of them, you know, elsewhere on the East Coast. But yeah, there's so many of these fucking cars everywhere, and don't get me wrong, I kind of like them. I mean, I do like them. I think that there are things to like about them. But I feel like there's a fair degree of sort of misguidedness in a lot of people's decisions to purchase a Tesla. And here's what I mean by that. I think that there are a lot of people that believe that well, Tesla's an electric car and it's really good for the environment. You know, the whole point of a lot of these people's buying decisions is because right, it's better for the environment and no CO2 emissions and things like that. Now, and that's just kind of typical because people in general are fucking dumb. I mean, if you're buying it for that reason, but like, let's by dumb I mean a lot of people, no matter how, it seems like no matter how successful they are in a career or in school or whatever, like they still it seems as though a lot of people don't ever overcome, or I say ever overcome, they don't overcome this sort of social status virtue signaling kind of thing. And that's a phrase that I had, up until I don't know, a few months ago, maybe a year ago, I wasn't really familiar with that phrase, virtue signal, or virtue signaling, and it really describes the behavior that I've seen for a really long time, and I just maybe didn't know the best way to express it. You kind of want to it's maybe you don't really believe something, but you kind of want to show other people that you have some sort of a moral superiority, and you're quite all right with putting that on exhibit, that moral superiority. And that's what I think is going on with a lot of people that are buying Teslas. And what's really funny is that I think that is, as I said, misguided. So let's get into it. What's the deal with Tesla? What the fuck am I talking about when I say misguided? So if we're just gonna let's just talk about carbon emissions at the outset. There's other environmental impacts of, well, all man manufactured products and items, but let's just talk about carbon footprint for the moment. And so how does an electric car differ from a gasoline car in terms of carbon? Let's talk about the entire footprint, the carbon footprint that is associated with the manufacture of the car. So all the parts in their manufacture, all the energy that it took to make them, and the carbon footprint associated with that energy, and the materials and the carbon footprint associated with the materials and logistics. Shipping parts all around the world, and then shipping products all around the world, and all that sort of stuff. And so I don't know a whole lot of details about the, like, say, the batteries and what their sort of carbon footprint is in manufacturing them. But let's just assume that the carbon footprint of manufacture of these electric cars is more or less the same as it is a conventional gasoline powered car. And it probably is. But so you know, that's only albeit I would say a significant part of the story. You know, what about the energy that fuels the thing? And you'd say, well, I mean, the electric car is far cleaner, you know, as far as carbon emissions, as well as, you know, other nasty stuff produced by fossil fuel burning, like traditional internal combustion engine automobiles. And it is, but let's understand, where does that energy come from? And that's a huge part of it. I mean, it's the huge part of it. And well, it comes from the plug. Right, it comes from the power plant. So as it is today, you know, the vast majority of the energy, electrical energy consumed in the United States is produced by fossil fuel, coal, natural gas. That's I don't know what it is, but I'm going to say it's at least 80%, probably more than that. And even places like Phoenix, where you have a shitload of sunlight, you say, well, Phoenix, you're going to have solar panels everywhere. I'll touch on solar panels a little bit further, not very far, but a little bit further in a moment. But yeah, even Phoenix, the majority of the electrical energy produced is by coal or fossil fuel. And so you might say, well, yeah, but that's still cleaner than a dirty gasoline car. And I'd say, well, hang on a minute, hold on a second. A lot of people that I've sort of talked to are interested to know, and they're surprised to know that yeah, I mean, gasoline engines are actually pretty darn efficient. And by pretty darn efficient, I mean a modern, and now we're up and it's even cooler, a modern gasoline car engine is going to be, they're getting pretty darn efficient. So they're up around maybe 40%, up to 40% efficient. And that doesn't sound like much, but there's a lot of waste energy in an engine when it comes to burning fuel and trying to get the energy out of it. So of all the energy that's released during the combustion event, something like 40% of the energy is able to be captured and transmitted into mechanical energy. And it's maybe that's probably 40% is not a conservative. That's probably about as good as it's probably about as good as it's gonna get with a gasoline engine. Diesels can do a little bit better because of basically the nature of how diesel engines work. They're able to get a little bit more energy out of the fuel, so maybe they're 45%. Call it 5 to 10% more efficient than modern gasoline engines. So, like, yeah, high efficiency diesel engines, it could well be that they're approaching 50% efficiency in some applications. And you might say, well, yeah, but the power plant, you know, they're going to be running far more efficiently than I gotta get away from this fucking, it's blasting me with straw and shit, and it stinks. But you say, well, a power plant is going to be far more efficient, and in some regards they are, because right, you have to remember that a gasoline engine in a car, right, it has to be able to its delivery of torque has to be really, really versatile, right? It has to be able to operate under a wide range of speeds of RPMs, and people, you want to have power, you want to have torque delivery at low RPM and also at high RPM, and you want it to make tons of power, so that, because people find that appealing, people like me find that appealing. So you want it to be able to make tons of power, but then when you're cruising on the highway and you're only using 20 horsepower or even less than that, you want it to consume very little fuel. So there's a lot to be asked, or there's a lot that is asked of a gasoline engine in a consumer motor vehicle. And basically what I'm getting at is internal combustion engines, right? They're gonna have some conditions of operation that are optimal, where that engine can run most efficiently. And generally speaking, that's for whatever application you're using. Generally speaking, you want, at least for gasoline engine, you want the smallest displacement possible that produces the necessary amount of torque or power, if you prefer. Different things, but we're not going to get into that right now. But and basically the reason is you have a reciprocating mass inside the engine, and the bigger those parts are, the more energy is lost in moving them about, as well as, and probably I would say primarily, well, I can't say primarily, but in large part also, you have pumping losses. So when you have a big displacement engine and you're only cruising down the highway with a throttle valve that's barely cracked, that engine is subject to inefficiencies due to pumping losses, and you can just look that up yourself for a little bit better understanding. But yeah, so shit, I'm kind of getting into the weeds here. But basically, you can have an internal combustion engine, and if you size it appropriately for the application, they can be pretty damn efficient. And that's why big diesel trucks are more suited for that application. They're not suited as well for high acceleration, because if you're a freight company, you don't give a shit if that truck can accelerate quickly. You give a shit that it's going to be able to maintain a reasonable speed and deliver the freight more or less as cheaply as possible. And so basically their power to weight ratio in a truck is like a fraction of what it is in a passenger vehicle. So they're using the smallest engine possible, or with reason the smallest engine they can, to take advantage of using that engine in the most efficient application possible. Anyway, so back to electric cars and power plants. So power plants produce energy in a different way, but not such a different way, in that, right, they're burning fuels, and instead of using that combustion event to drive a piston in a reciprocating engine, right, they're using it to in essence create a vapor from liquid. In layman's terms, they're just boiling water. It may well be that they're using some water-based solution, some aqueous solution, but in essence they're boiling water and creating steam, and that steam, in the creation of that steam, that the change of phase from liquid to vapor, pressure is increased, and they run that high pressure steam through a turbine, and the turbine is where the mechanical energy is captured. And the efficiency, I don't know a whole lot of details about steam power plants, and it depends on I would imagine it somewhat depends on the type of fuel that's being burned, but the efficiency of these turbines isn't so mind-alteringly better than an internal combustion engine, especially one that's one that's running in its most efficient configuration or application, maybe I should say. But call it 50%. Hell, call it 60% efficiency. I don't think they're getting 60% efficiency from fossil fuels, turbine-generated power plants, but whatever. But so you can see that's not it's not huge. I'll put an annotation if I'm desperately wrong about the efficiency of a steam generation sort of power plant, or you know what I mean. And so if we assume it's somewhere around 50% efficient, then right there, you're basically not doing enough better for an electric car than a gasoline car. But it gets worse, because that energy that is produced at the power plant, right? That's got to be converted into electrical energy. So they have, basically big giant alternators, and if you can believe it, there's an energy loss in the conversion of that mechanical energy to the electrical energy. And I really don't know what that is. I'm going to guess it's at least 5%. And then once you have that electrical energy, right, you got to pack it up and ship it off to all the customers, all the users of that energy. And there's actually a considerable amount of loss in that process. Although the power company are pretty determined to sell you electricity, and the meter through which the energy is measured is at your house. So they have the best interest to get to lose as little energy between the power plant and your house, so that you can buy that electrical energy. So I mean, generally speaking, they step that up to a really high voltage, because in essence, the higher the voltage, the lower the loss through electrical resistance in essence in the wires. But there's still some loss, and it's not zero. It's it highly depends on how, what kind of distances are we talking about in terms of this transmission of electrical energy. I mean, because if you can imagine, right, wouldn't it be better, in the United States, what we could do is just have a shitload of power plants in a shitty part of the country, like I don't know, Detroit, or better yet, Toledo, and just have all the energy production there, and all the nasty smog and CO2 and nastiness all just stays in that asshole of the country, and then just send all, and then just transmit all the electricity all throughout the rest of the country, and all the rest of the country can remain really nice and pleasant because you don't have these power plants pumping out all this shit. You only have the power plants back in this shitty part of the country, and it's kind of like, why we have it's like an outhouse for the energy industry, right? The reason why we can't do that is there's a cost associated with electrical energy transmission. So basically, you have power plants set up in localized areas. Anyway, so as it turns out, like I said, depending on where the energy is coming from, depending on how it's produced, depending on how far it's being transmitted, electric cars are not better for the environment in terms of carbon emissions, or really anything else that you're concerned about. Nitrous oxides and soot and nastiness. It's not better, and in certain circumstances it's far worse. It's far more impactful. And what's worse than that is when you have this sort of social behavioral construct where people believe that it's cleaner, they believe that it's a lesser carbon footprint, and therefore maybe they're using these products, they're driving these cars more than they otherwise would, if somebody told you that when you masturbate you save 5 starving children in Africa, there's a lot of people that not only would justify their current masturbation habits, they would masturbate a lot more, and maybe that's not such a good analogy, because there's no, as far as I can tell, there's fucking no downside to masturbation, whereas driving an electric car or burning fossil fuels, I mean, there is a downside that could be argued. So you probably should, when in doubt, you probably should just stay home and masturbate instead of getting in your Tesla and driving to the other side of town because you think that it's like carbon neutral. And I remember I'd heard and I think that Tesla never made the claim that they were carbon neutral or carbon negative or any of that stuff. And I heard on a recent interview, Elon Musk, who I think is a pretty intelligent fellow. A lot of people think he's like the fucking, Leonardo da Vinci of the modern age, or Einstein or what. Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sucking his dick that fucking deep. I think he's a pretty clever guy, but he's not setting my intellectual fucking world on fire. But in this interview, he was very careful to say that. Well, I don't know that he explicitly said, but he basically did not assert and did not acknowledge that his Tesla cars are a better environmental solution than an internal combustion engine. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said it in what I considered at the time to be a pretty tactful explanation, without, he said something like in addition to whatever he said something like they help us get ready for, like the Teslas, they help us get ready for not having fossil fuel cars. And in fairness, if you can find another way to produce electrical energy that power these cars that don't emit carbon, I mean, yeah, you got something there. Nuclear or solar the cost associated with producing solar energy has always been really high. And so it basically the only reason there has ever been solar farms and solar panels and shit like that, it's basically bullshit. It's basically if you need to produce power, if you need to produce energy in a space or a region where you can't run a wire to it, you know, i.e. satellites in space, like your little calculator that hardly needs barely any electrical current at all, you know, stuff like that. Stuff like it's where you don't need a lot of energy and it's a pain in the ass to try and run power to it by you know, transmission lines or whatever. So space rovers and satellites, you know, that makes for a really good application of solar panels, because, you know, you can afford to spend a lot of money on them because they cost a lot, and you got the even better reason why solar panels are a good application in space is because you got no other fucking options. I mean, maybe, yeah, I mean, you really don't have any other options. Maybe you could, in the future, there could be mini nuclear reactors and stuff like that. But yeah, so solar is pretty much bullshit, and I don't know that it's going to get more accessible anytime soon. I think nuclear is the way. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty far off topic. So now that you're armed with this information about electric cars and energy, electrical energy generation and this sort of thing, well, not even armed with the information, but armed with the notion that you can do a little digging and find out for yourself exactly, or get a better picture as to what these numbers are, what these kind of efficiencies really are, and then you can see, like, yeah, this is pretty much fucking bunk, man. Why the fuck are people buying all these Teslas? And it's fucking, they either don't know, or, well, there's three possibilities. They either just dig it, and it's fun, and it's neat, and it's tech, and that's cool, or they don't know that their car is not any more environmentally friendly than a gasoline car, or they don't know, or they don't know, and they're also virtue seeking, right? And those are the fucking, those are the worst. The clueless assholes that are rubbing their shit in your face, and they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. Those are the fucking worst. I mean, I know that for the most part everybody loves a know-it-all, but yeah, just some of those fucking snooty assholes. There's a lot of them in Austin. There's a lot of them there's more of them coming to Austin every fucking day, and Phoenix too. But yeah, it's total fucking bullshit, man. And so, so the other part that's pretty fucked up is, right, you have a lot of workplaces and a lot of sort of access points will give away energy for free. Like, you just go plug your Tesla in for free. There's a bunch of workplaces that I've been to where, yeah, you just charge it for free, and that energy is fucking free. I mean, in fairness, it's probably not that expensive to begin with. But right, that shit's free. And then you have government incentives, like you got government tax breaks, so you taxpayer. So this whole bump bullshit idea that these cars are better for the environment, this, you know, it's also being pushed by fucking taxpayer dollars. How does that fucking feel? How does that feel? Oh, fuck. So government gives you whatever, like, I can't remember what it was the last time. I remember in Maryland, when I was living there, the state would give you like a $3,000 tax credit, and then the federal government would give you like I don't know, it was like a $5,000 or a $7,000 tax credit. So you're saving I don't know, between like 8 and 10 grand off the price of a fucking an e-car, and like that's just out of the taxpayers' fucking pockets, motherfuckers. It's for the good of the people. Yeah, if only that were fucking not bullshit. Even if it wasn't bullshit, it still wouldn't be fucking fair. How the fuck do you like it? You're paying that smug asshole who's like rubbing his shit in your face that's wrong. You're paying for his fucking car. How the fuck does that feel? Yeah, it fucking burns. It sucks. The fucking government's a bag of shit for socialist programs like that. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And furthermore, at least these cars are really inexpensive, right? No. Right? They're fucking expensive. You know? I just bought last year, a little more than a year ago, right? I bought a brand new Ford Mustang for 26 grand out the door. So the sale price was, you know, they add on fees and taxes and shipping, and that is bullshit. But anyway, out the door was like 26 grand for a fucking brand new car. Though that's with the EcoBoost engine, not the V8, which the EcoBoost is, in my view, in some regards actually better. But never mind that. How much does a fucking Model 3 cost? How much does the most basic version of the Model 3 cost? It's like, I don't know, it's like 45 grand. You know, a specced out version of the Model 3 is like fucking, what, 60, 65? I mean, even if I'm way off by that, and it's a lot less, it's still a lot more than you would pay for a comparable gasoline-powered car. You know? What the fuck? So what's the reason? Like, if you're buying it just because you dig it, and it's fun, and you like that, and they're fast, because you get 100% of the torque immediately. And that's fun, you know, I can understand why that's fun, that's cool, and they're techie and they're fun, and that's cool. If that's the reason why you're buying it, I say fucking rock on, man. I'm down with that. Do it. But if you're buying it to be sort of an environmental fucking soldier or whatever, then yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Even if I'm wrong about all the points that I just made, the fact remains is it's not that simple. The main point here is it's not that simple. Is that this car is more environmentally friendly and economical. It's not that simple. It simply isn't that simple. You know, so I don't dig that, and I definitely don't dig the environmental people rubbing that shit in my face. I don't like that. Yeah. So don't do it. I can smell those brakes. I can smell them. Woo!